Well, college presidents have to put up with a lot in office, but a just-released analysis of college presidents' pay shows they are well paid for the job. According to the Chronicle of Higher Education, the median base pay for presidents at 190 public research institutions is above $421,000 a year, up 2.9%, on par with the President of the United States. Leland Yee is a California state senator, and he joins us on the phone. Leland, I've got to ask you here, on the one hand, the salaries seem exorbitant, but also on the other hand, these presidents are usually over budgets that are millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't understand why people are so concerned about this.
I think there are a number of issues, and first, thank you for having me on your program, but there are a number of issues that needs to be raised when we're talking about these top executives making these exorbitant salaries. I think number one, you've got to compare to what? And oftentimes you compare to other top university officials, but you've got to compare to the economic climate that you find yourself in. So one of the issues that I've raised with our top executives in our state universities and our colleges is that when you have an economic downturn in the economy in the state of California, should you still be getting these top raises, or at least you should tone it down? I think secondly, you did not come into these public institutions to get rich. So you need to set examples to students, to the future leaders, that coming into public service is not about getting rich. It's about serving the people.
Right, I understand that, but let's take a look at some numbers here, Leland. The average in-state tuition at a public four-year college is about $9,000 a year, a little bit less than that. On the other hand, for private institutions, the tuition increased by 3.8% to $30,000 a year. That is a lot of money, there's no doubt about it. But you take a look at these college presidents. They're in charge of overall budgets. For the most part, they are the top fundraisers, they're the top financiers, they're the top administrators, and they're the top labor negotiators. That is a lot of work. There's a lot on their shoulders. I guess my question once again is, shouldn't they deserve the kind of money based upon the burdens that are on their shoulders?
Well, no one is debating that they ought to get a decent wage. But when you have an economic downturn in the economy, you've got workers who are being laid off, people losing their homes. And then on top of that, tuitions on students going skyrocketing high. And then at the same time, you have these top executives, getting $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, and in the case of the UC president, over $1 million. You start having to ask the question: when is it enough? And so it's more proportion. It's more of looking at other indicators within the jurisdiction that you're in. That's the issue that I want to raise.
We're taking a look at the list here of the top 5 wage earners for colleges here. The University of Chicago leads this list here. Robert Zimmer, he makes over $3 million a year. You've got Joseph Owen of Northeastern, makes over $3 million a year, and so on and so forth. I guess the question, though, is they're making these salaries. If you were to reduce these salaries, I guess the question is, what do you reduce these salaries to?
Well, I'm not even talking about reducing salary. I'm just saying, for this year, don't take an increase. Because guess what? You're taking these increases, and then you're saddling your students with higher tuition. I mean, how much is enough? Do you really need $1 million in order to live? Do you have that much expenses, that many expenses in order to, you can't live with maybe less than $1 million a year? So those are the issues that we're not saying that you don't deserve some of these increases, but in these tough economic times, when you're raising tuition, people are losing their homes, people are losing their job, that do you really need another 5% increase, isn't $1 million enough? In the case you mentioned, $3 million. How much money do you need as a college administrator?
I think, Leland, I think you've made your point there, but I would suggest that some would argue it's still all relative. But thank you so much for your insight on this subject matter, Leland.
Thank you very much.
Okay. A time to take a look at other news capturing headlines around the globe in our Arise World News Wrap.